Yeah, I think Spence beat him. At this point in both of their career, I think Spence beat him. At the end of the day, I'm not the one that controls who win or lose.
What could you tell Tim, or what could you tell him about a Spence fight if he was a future opponent?
I can't tell him nothing. I just tell him good luck, train hard, and go in there and fight.
You watch him in person, he's a dangerous guy. When you see him up close, the punches and the snap, that's the difference. That's the discrepancy there. It's like it's night and day. It's boys and men. It's just a whole different ball game.
We know that for anybody standing in front of Errol Spence Toto, he's gonna destroy them. So I mean, this might be the perfect opponent that Errol Spence needs to come back to show the world who Errol Spence.
Okay, so before we even start, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to tell you about Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., and Tim Tszyu is not what anybody in mainstream boxing media is talking about. And honestly,
Spence fan, like when we the build up, I'm like, man, hey, let me get your autograph. You know what I mean? Because I watched you come up. I'm older than you, but I watched you, rooted for you when you was in the amateurs, when you were
the Tim Tszyu fight week, so I do have to ask you your thoughts on Tim Tszyu's career and if he is going to be back at that elite level.
Well, Tim Tszyu had a great career. He's still going. You know, he's accomplished a lot, you know, for what, you know, his experience entail. His fight this weekend, I don't know too much about the fighter that he's fighting other than, you know, he's undefeated. Wager on if him and Spence fought each other, who will win. I had to back Spence because that's
the fact that this conversation even happened is sending shockwaves through the entire combat sports world in ways that nobody is fully ready to unpack yet. Because when Terence Crawford, the man who literally dismantled Errol Spence Jr. in one of the most shocking upsets in recent boxing memory, starts going...
You know, I got a little wager bet, you know, with my boy Tazzy. You know, he got Tim, I got Errol. But I think it'd be a good fight for both of them at this stage in their career.
Why are you confident that you win that bet with Tazzy? You know, watch Errol fight.
Well, I'm not, you know, 100% confident. You know, I just know, you know, the caliber of fighter that Errol is. I just wish him well. You know, I wish him well, much respect with him in his career. And I'll be looking forward to seeing what he does.
Going out of his way to sing Spence's praises and frame him as this nearly unbeatable technical nightmare for Tim Tszyu, you have to ask yourself, you genuinely have to stop and ask,
why Tim Tszyu possesses a fight, he's gonna stand right in front of Errol Spence and he's gonna fight. That's the fight that we've known Errol Spence to dominate guys in. He lacks a lot of defense, you know what I'm saying, maneuvers, and I think that's where the downfall is going to be at. Other than that, he's a very tough fighter. He comes forward, he has a lot of heart, you know what I'm saying, you know, he's very, but a style like a Errol Spence walk down, that's not going to be, that's watch, that's what I say, no cap. Around my block, then you got to get dealt with, that's it. So he reacted and responded like a fighter to me. That's all I hear as a fighter.
Why is Bud Crawford doing this right now? What is the angle here? Because Crawford does not say things without a reason. And the boxing world is starting to connect dots that are leading somewhere absolutely wild. So let's rewind for a second, because the setup here is everything. Crawford goes on record and starts breaking down how Errol Spence Jr. would allegedly be a brutal, suffocating, almost impossible matchup for Tim Tszyu, citing Spence's pressure, his elite body attack, his jab, his conditioning, his ring IQ, basically painting Spence as this unstoppable force of boxing nature.
Have to do, but and I don't care what Tszyu has to do because I'm with Spence. So.
I know,
but I think for Errol, you know, Errol just had to be Errol. You know, you got to get back to what got him to where he's supposed to be. You know, Errol. You know, he has one defeat. You know, and that's against Terence Crawford. But before then, people were avoiding him like the plague, you know, because, you know, he's just that good. So I think he just got to get himself back into shape and get himself positioned to where he can do things that he...
And fans online are immediately losing their minds because, wait, this is the same Errol Spence that Crawford himself stopped. The same Errol Spence that Crawford made look beatable for the first time in his career. So Why is Crawford out here essentially rebuilding Spence's reputation, brick by brick, and framing him as a monster against Tszyu specifically? And here's where it starts getting genuinely interesting.
Diverse. He has better technique. He moves around more, you know. And I love Spence. I mean, he's a great fighter. He knows how to change it up, switch it up. He has A, B, C, and D.
Calling these guys to come back, man, because we needed something up in the sport. This is beautiful. And I'm very honored and grateful to be in the position I'm in while all this is happening. It's a dream come true. Errol Spence, Australia, Tim Tszyu. Heck yeah, I really want to see him win. I don't think so. I think Errol Spence has been truly like nonstop working out. He already looks like he's in now. And when you stay on that trajectory, when you're staying consistently on working out, it's only bound to happen.
Because Crawford's breakdown is not casual. It is not throwaway commentary. It is detailed. It is specific. It is almost like a scouting report delivered by someone who knows exactly what they are talking about. He zeroes in on how Spence applies intelligent pressure without overcommitting, which is the kind of nuanced observation that only comes from someone who has studied that style intimately. And
Errol break, Errol 3-year break, I don't know how his coordination is.
Experts are saying it will be interesting to see how Spence looks after the layoff and whether he can still perform at an elite level. They believe his comeback could tell a lot about where he stands now, especially against top names in the division who are still active and in rhythm.
You know, I always say, I hate when a boxer loses one fight, you forget everything they done. The hard work they've been doing for years. Errol's a Hall of Famer. I don't give a damn what nobody says. He earned it. He had 3 straps at one time. He was cleaning up the division, doing whatever he had to do on his side, and he ran to all-time great. It was bad timing on his parents' part. But one fighter fought twice since 2020. One fought 12 times. So do we got the wear and tear? Do we have a refreshed guy? I mean, it's perfect timing on both guys. And I think Errol's a type of fighter, because I think if you get him there with like an Africa, Tim Tszyu, you want to be up there in that type of black fighter, if y'all know what I mean. You want an Errol Spence that's not gonna move too much, but I'm going with Errol.
It's literally.
Crawford points out that Spence's jab is a weapon that controls distance and opens combinations to the body, which, if you know anything about Tim Tszyu's fighting style, should make you immediately nervous, because Tszyu is a come-forward fighter who moves in relatively straight lines and allegedly has a tendency to get caught during exchanges, and Crawford is essentially mapping out how Spence's entire technical arsenal would exploit every single one of those tendencies, like a surgeon.
Concerned about that if I was getting ready to train Errol, if I was somebody who was working with Errol, that, you know, I want to make sure that these ones and these twos are working right. And the other side that I disagree with you, I think he uses his both hands better than Tim uses both of his hands.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the volume. Like, I just think punch for punch.
You said Tim's sharper.
Punch for punch.
I don't think he's sharper punch for punch. I think Errol.
Hey, he said, nigga, I've been punched by him.
Tim, you know, for a while now, Tim has been a much avoided fighter, because, you know, there was this kind of perception of him that he was this monster. But the reality is he's had a couple of defeats, and people look upon him now as a kind of opponent. And that's what Errol Spence's team are doing. But I think Tim's more than an opponent. I think he's a very good fighter, and I think he's got a lot about him. And I think it's a very dangerous fight for Errol Spence to come back to. You know, 2 years out of the ring, obviously the car crash, the retina problems over the years. And yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, and I wish Tim all the best. You know, again, not on our team, but with our hopes to build Australian boxing, hopefully he can go over there and get.
Breaking news alert. Online speculation is now swirling that this Crawford commentary may not be as random as it first appeared, because allegedly there are whispers in boxing circles that discussions around a Spence versus Tszyu matchup have been gaining serious traction behind closed doors. And if that fight is being put together quietly...
Much what he says. Just, I don't know, maybe it's his accent or something. But yeah, I hope he brings that energy. Yeah, I think he's refreshed, rejuvenated. I hope he is. When he fought Terence Crawford, I felt like he looked a bit dizzy, you know? So I don't know. So hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's at his peak. That's what I expect.
A win against Spence, does it put you back in the Pandora talk, or do you have your eye on a fight that'll happen a month prior to yours, and that's Boots versus Xander?
Look, I'm willing to take on all challenges. You know, another Pandora fight. I'm down. Yeah, there's a lot of different fights to be made for sure. Boots and Zayas, that's an interesting one as well. So yeah, we'll see how it.
Crawford publicly co-signing Spence as this elite technical nightmare serves a very specific narrative purpose that benefits multiple parties in ways that the average fan scrolling through highlight clips would never immediately clock. But wait, because here is the first major twist, and you need to be ready for this. Crawford does not just praise Spence's pressure and bodywork, he also subtly raises questions about Tszyu's ability to handle elite volume and ring IQ at the highest level, which is a very careful, very calculated way of planting seeds of doubt about Tszyu without ever saying anything directly harsh.
Throw on the left hook. But the last time Errol Spence did that with Tony Harrison, it didn't work out too well for him.
I saw you say you've been watching Crawford's fight with Spence as well.
Yeah.
Any particular reason? You sort of prepping things?
Yeah, to a certain extent, but just the front hand. How he just strategically beat him down was just interesting. How he stopped his relentlessness and was able to use his angles. It was just interesting to watch.
That's why Tszyu sounds extremely confident that if this fight happens, he won't just compete with Errol Spence. He believes he'll overwhelm him and leave no doubt about who the better fighter is now.
I like how he's just a humble guy, down to earth. He hasn't let the fame and the fortunes of life get into the way of life. And it's good to see that, you know, it comes from an example. You know, there's certain styles that people think they swing different ways. That's what makes me and Errol Spence so interesting, is that it could go either way.
When I got presented with Errol, who's undeniably one of the best fighters of this decade, I didn't hesitate, and I straight away accepted. I accepted not to compete, but I accepted because I knew that the victory is only on my mind. I know the challenge that is put in front of me. I'm gonna work super hard, and I'm coming for it all. And thank you again. Victory is.
And in the world of boxing promotion and matchmaking, perception is everything. Narratives get built and dismantled in interviews and podcasts before a single contract is ever signed. So Crawford wading into this specific conversation at this specific moment is either the most coincidental timing in recent boxing history, or it is something else entirely. And fans are saying, they are absolutely saying, that this could be Crawford doing what Crawford always does, which is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Because think about it, if Spence versus Tszyu gets made and Spence wins, Crawford's read looks prophetic and his legacy as a boxing genius is further cemented. But
I'm sure everybody has their, reserved opinions, thinking I'm a shell of myself, or, do you still have it? And, it's just because I'll be thinking the same thing seeing my last fight. But I guarantee you, come July 26th, you will see a better, more improved Errol Spence. It was some time I had 3 years off, and I feel like it helped me mentally. It helped me physically, gave me some time to recover, and just enjoy life, enjoy the spoils of my wins, and just being with family. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to put on a great show. I can't wait for July 26th to be fighting in Australia, to be fighting in front of his fans. I look forward to disappointing them, putting on a great show, putting on another great performance, and showing y'all why they nicknamed me the Truth.
If Tszyu wins and dismantles Spence, Crawford still comes out looking untouchable because he already proved he could beat Spence in a way nobody else could. It is a no-lose narrative position. And allegedly, this is exactly the kind of strategic media maneuvering that Crawford's camp has become increasingly sophisticated at deploying. Now let's talk about the body punching breakdown for a second, because Crawford's emphasis here is not accidental. He specifically stresses that Spence's body attack could gradually wear Tszyu down over the championship rounds. And this is fascinating because it reframes the entire Tszyu matchup, not as a question of who hits harder in the early rounds, but as a question of who survives the war of attrition. And Crawford is essentially suggesting that Tszyu's aggression, which is...
I just felt like it was the right time because I didn't know if I was coming back or not. I just knew that, one day, I might wake up and be like, I want to come back. And, the day happened. And then I talked to, the Cubans, I talked to Al, and we was going through a few names. And, they at first, they had their reserves. Justly, they wanted me to take a tune-up fight, but I told them I don't take tune-up fights. I want to fight somebody who's gonna get me up for the challenge. And they said, what about Tim Tszyu? And I look forward to that. I've been doing that since I was an amateur fighting in other people's countries. I've been to Russia, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan. So this is nothing new to me. Kilbrook, England, Sheffield. So this is nothing new to me. I look forward coming to Australia and, just showing the fans who I am and, the gratifying moment of looking up after the fight and seeing how everybody left the arena because they were disappointed. Some type of sick gratification, but to fight somebody in their hometown and fight them in front of, their countrymen and to beat him in front of how many thousands of fans is going to be, that's gonna be a great moment for myself, and I like that feeling. I like the feeling when I went to Sheffield and did the same thing, and I'm looking to do the same thing again.
His greatest strength and the thing that has made him so exciting and so dangerous as a fighter could actually become his greatest liability against someone as technically refined and relentlessly conditioned as Spence. Second breaking news interruption reports suggest that the boxing community's reaction to Crawford's comments has been divided almost perfectly down the middle between people who think Crawford is being genuinely analytical and generous in his assessment of a former opponent, and people who think there is a much larger promotional and financial chess game being played out in real time through these comments. And the conspiracy side of this debate is gaining momentum faster than anyone expected.
Father had against Julio Cesar Chavez, and he's saying this is his moment, his version of that.
I think it's cute, but I mean that ain't what that is. It's Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu. He's no caliber of his father. Of his daddy. So he can't even compare himself to his pops. He fighting me, he trying to get out his daddy's shadow. So we'll see come July 26th, can he get out that shadow? There are people who talk shit, and then when you see me, you want, hey, what's up, buddy? Like, I'm not one of those dudes, bro.
What'd she say?
What are you referencing, Errol?
I'm not one of those guys, if you talking shit on social media, and then when you see me, you want to shake my hand.
I'm very respectful. What are you talking about? I've been calling you one of the best fighters of this decade.
I heard all the little stuff,
right.
and they want to give me a hug. Like, I'm not
that's all right.
Cool with that.
Because the timing, the specificity, and the almost promotional quality of Crawford's Spence endorsement is raising eyebrows from fighters, analysts, and hardcore boxing fans who track these narratives obsessively. And this is where it gets genuinely wild, because Crawford repeatedly comes back to this theme that elite boxing is decided by fundamentals, timing, and composure rather than power alone, which on the surface sounds like standard boxing wisdom, but in context reads as a very pointed commentary on Tszyu's style specifically, because Tszyu is a power puncher and an aggressor, and Crawford is essentially arguing that those qualities, as impressive as they are, may not be enough against the kind of cerebral, fundamental, pressure-based excellence that Spence brings at his best, and fans are absolutely reading between those lines and asking whether Crawford is trying to tell us something about the future of the 154-pound division that we should be paying very close attention to. Now here comes the twist that nobody saw coming, and I promise you this reframes everything. Because while the entire conversation has been framed as Crawford analyzing a hypothetical Spence versus Tszyu matchup, the more you listen to the specificity and the passion with which Crawford breaks down Spence's qualities, the more an alternative reading starts to emerge, which is that Crawford is not just talking about Tszyu, Crawford is also reminding the boxing world exactly what he himself overcame when he beat Spence. He is cataloging the monster he defeated. He is essentially narrating his own legacy in reverse, by describing Spence as a nightmare matchup for elite fighters, while knowing that he, Terence Crawford, solved that puzzle when the whole world said he could not. And that realization changes the entire texture of the commentary, because suddenly it is not just Crawford being generous to a former opponent, or playing promotional chess with a future fight. It is Crawford very quietly, very elegantly, making the case that his victory over Spence was even more historically significant than the boxing mainstream gave him credit for. And when you see it that way, every single thing Crawford said about Spence's pressure and bodywork and ring IQ and conditioning becomes a trophy. Crawford is polishing in public while pretending to talk about someone else's hypothetical futures. So, where does that leave us? Where does this entire sprawling, allegedly connected web of commentary and matchmaking whispers and narrative positioning actually land? Because here is the final question that the entire boxing world needs to sit with right now. If Terence Crawford is simultaneously the man who beat Errol Spence and the man publicly declaring Spence to be a nearly unbeatable nightmare for the next generation of elite welterweights, what does that make Terence Crawford, and more importantly, is everything we just watched unfold in this commentary a genuine breakdown of a fascinating hypothetical matchup? Or is it the most sophisticated piece of personal legacy building disguised as boxing analysis that the sport has seen in years? Drop your answer in the comments right now, because this debate is just getting started.